He held out his hand and said, "So, you're from Lisbon, right?" I stared, paused, and said, "Absolutely." Then I spent the next 3 weeks pretending I knew what pastéis de nata were.
I'm Liv, your chronically online host, and I once tried on a tiny fake accent like it was a trendy jacket. It fit for a minute, and then it became my whole wardrobe.
Picture me, nervous, over-caffeinated, trying to sound like I'd lived in 3 countries, and definitely not in my parents' apartment until 2 a.m.
I had a bad dating bio that read like a passive-aggressive travel brochure, so I improvised. The guy at the date was delightfully normal, like collects obscure vinyl normal, and I panicked and outsourced my personality to a swagger I did not own.
He said, "That's very cosmopolitan." I heard applause in my head. One compliment is like catnip for insecurity, and I went full circus. At first, it was tiny, a flirtatious cadence, a slightly elevated syllable here or there. It felt like a costume that made me taller, smarter, more interesting. And for about 90 glorious seconds, it worked.
Then I told a story, a little summer anecdote about a city I'd never visited with unnecessary specifics, a bakery that sold croissants shaped like hearts, and a tram conductor who played jazz. Once you invent details, your brain treats them like mortgage payments. You have to keep paying. Plan was to stash the voice in a pocket and pull it out only on dates. Cute plan. Poorly executed. Appetizers ruined it. Here's the dangerous thing. Attention feels like validation. Someone leans in and you think, oh, that's a hack. So the next day I texted him, and the voice leaked into my captions. Not with weird spelling, with tone. Suddenly my texts read like the trailer to a travel doc I didn't film.
Then Domino's, group chat, work Slack, coffee orders. I went to the bodega to get my usual, and the barista looked at me like I was doing a late-night sketch. I asked for my coffee like a narrator describing their own life. One time I answered a neighbor's voicemail in the accent because I misread a text as sarcasm. Then, and this is the apex of absurdity, I left a voicemail for my dentist in the persona. The message went, "Hi, this is Liv. I think I meant to book a cleaning. Also, if you find any dental souvenirs from Barcelona, that's probably mine." Imagine the dental office scheduling me for the woman with the charmingly confusing accent. I like to picture my hygienist telling their kids, "She flosses like a heroine."
I want to be super clear. I avoided imitating any real accent. What I created was a Frankenstein's monster of tourist brochure energy and rom-com narration. Ridiculous and entirely self-inflicted.
The more I performed, the more people cataloged it. Someone actually made a spreadsheet. Yes, a spreadsheet. There was a bullet point titled, "Times Liv said darling unprompted." Then the group chat sent the most civilized mob message. "Liv, choose a voice already. We're documenting this." That was the moment I smelled panic and decided to test every possible strategy except the sensible one. Denial. No, I don't do that. Self-blame. You're right. I am insufferable. Blaming autocorrect. My phone has a flare setting. And my personal favorite, apologizing in the accent, which doubles as performative confession. Nice move, Liv. Very subtle. The real wake-up was when my date showed up at a friend's dinner and greeted people in full-on persona, like we were co-hosting something regrettable. Laughter happened. Side-eye happened. I felt small and foolish in a way that no scripted humiliation could reach. I finally said out loud, I made it up. No drum roll, just a tiny embarrassing admission. And you know what happened? Not the end of the world. Stories poured out. Everyone has a tiny fake persona. The fake job, the exaggerated hobby, the invented accent. We trade them like used concert tickets. Dropping it was weirdly freeing. I went to buy cilantro and asked for it without fanfare and felt naked and excellent for one glorious second. Authenticity, it turns out, is less a moral high ground and more a well-fitting hoodie.
Quick takeaways, in case you want to send this as a PSA to your group chat. 1. Trying to be someone else is exhausting. 2. Tiny lies snowball fast. And 3. Your dentist probably has a better story now. Bad decisions make great stories, but also messy voicemails.
If you want to roast with me, please do. Leave a review, tell me your worst tiny lie, and I'll read the best ones next episode. Stay chaotic. Love, live. If today's episode made you laugh or feel slightly better about your own life choices, then my job here is officially done. Love, live.